RPN is not responsible for the views, actions, opinions, or statements of its guests or advertisers, or people who call in. The information on this program is not to be construed as medical or legal advice, and an appearance on the program is not necessarily an endorsement. But as always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am Zach, the Corruption Detector, and this is another edition of Red Pill News for Friday Night Livestream. My guest tonight is author and researcher Judyth theverybaker. You may be familiar with her work. She's been on the program before. Excellent guest. I am so pleased to have her here once again. While you're waiting, please do me a favor. Consider liking and sharing this broadcast. Help us break through the algorithm. Already want to say thank you so much to EO2 Dave. Also to Dana Finkler. Dana's going to be calling in the call-in portion of the program, so get ready for that one. All right, gang. Please, everyone, do me a favor. Sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we will be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. A missing Palo Alto couple were rescued after missing for over a week after they got lost hiking in California. Now, Carol was 77 and Ian was 72, but they were found alive after a search and rescue team saw the couple in a ditch covered with foliage. Searchers and officers took the couple to a nearby hospital via helicopter, and both Carol and Ian are doing great. I cannot overstate how preventable cases like this would be if people just took a little extra time in preparing themselves. Hikers more experienced than you or I got themselves in situations that could have been prevented if they brought the proper gear along. That means not only knowing what the appropriate gear is, but remembering to bring it along. More specifically, bringing chargers for your electronic devices. And that's why I recommend the Backup Solar Bank by Prepper's Peak. The Backup Solar Bank is the most convenient way to charge your phone, tablet, or other electronic devices on the go. The Backup Solar Bank is a portable charger that fits in your pocket. It's powered by the solar panels that sit on the front of it so you can charge anytime, anywhere. The Backup Solar Bank is the perfect travel companion for anyone who enjoys the outdoors, goes on vacation, or just out and about and needs a way to charge their phone or tablet. The 2019 models are almost sold out, and that's why we're giving you a whopping 20% off for the whole month of July using my promo code REDPILL20. If you want your own backup solar bank, go to backupsolarbank.com and get yours today, or you can always click the link in the description or the pinned comment below. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for sticking around. I want to say thank you to my sponsor for this evening, the Backup Solar Bank. Here it is right here. This is something that I don't necessarily go into in the commercial, but it's an inductive charger. I can just set it down on my desk, set my phone on it, and it charges it. It's pretty handy. I'm a camper, so I appreciate it. Now join me in welcoming to the show my guest for this evening, once again, Judyth theverybaker. Judyth, how are you tonight?
Well, how is everybody else out there? That's what I'm wondering.
We'll get that in the chat. I hope everybody's doing well. Please give us a 1 in the chat if you're having a great night, if you're excited for the show. Give us a 2 if maybe you don't know what's going on and you're not having such a good day. Hopefully we'll get lots of 1s. All right, so Judyth, just in case we have anybody here tonight who is new to you or new to the subjects that we're going to be talking about, please give us a brief rundown of your history. I said you're an author, you're a researcher, but it is a fairly deep and long and storied history, and it looks like everybody is having a good night.
Hooray, that's terrific. Need some good news, and I hope to deliver both good news and then unfortunate news. But one of the things that everyone should be aware of is that I've been involved with cancer research a long time ago, but have kept up with the science of it. what's important for you to understand, all of you there, is that I was involved in the CIA sanctioned creation of a biological weapon utilizing cancer. And this material still exists. So that was over 50 years ago. Now think what they can do now.
Well, Judyth, I think it's adequate to note also that since the time that you were involved in that research, we have had what many would consider to be an epidemic of various types of cancers that have arisen here in America and across the globe. I mean, I don't think there's any coincidence between those two things.
Yes, as I remember when my grandmother got cancer, it was something that you didn't speak of. In other words, we don't know how many people got cancer, but it wasn't so common. It couldn't have been, or other people in my family would have gotten it, and so on. Of course, some did. But the fact of the matter is that we have rare cancers now that are proliferating. And of course, when we developed this original biological weapon utilizing cancer, we used a rare cancer that basically came from the you have various sources it could have come from, but the most important one is anytime you have, like you've heard of pituitary cancers and brain cancers, bone cancers, and so on. But it used to be quite rare to have these types of cancers, and we used all of those types. And the thyroid cancer, of course, is the most common. And by weaponizing it, we were able to make it available so that it would be easily picked up if injected. And now probably it could just spray it on food.
Wow, that's a scary thought. Now, at the time that you were working on this, how much material would have to be injected? I mean, was it a full, full syringe, or are we talking, a couple of cc's?
Well, when we started, we looked at how a mouse, for example, could sift out cancer cells and the millions of cells it could handle and get rid of. In other words, we carry cancer viruses, cancer cells in our body all the time. Mm-hmm. This is to keep it under control and not let it regenerate. Now, the problem that we're facing today is that we're surrounded by carcinogens. We're surrounded by all kinds of factors that can cause cancer, on top of the fact that we carry the SV40 monkey virus, most of us do, from the fact that they contaminated polio vaccine started in the 50s, and the last of it wasn't removed until 1999. Doses of polio vaccine that were grown, the vaccine itself, grown on monkey kidneys, macerated monkey kidneys. And they were loaded with all these simian, that's S viruses. SV40 was number 40. In other words, they'd already identified 39 earlier viruses that were contaminating this. Dirty vaccines, and we still have dirty vaccines, as a matter of fact. Just because nobody's looking at what's in them now doesn't mean that they're nice and clean. Mm-hmm. All kinds of fragments of contaminants that are in these vaccines. And we have very little responsibility. Of course, the government cannot be sued. The companies cannot be sued. We have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is doing a lot of good work now, getting people together and assessing and really accumulating a lot of evidence, proving what's been going on with vaccines. Now, why I'm mentioning vaccines is because we have another one that is on the horizon, or I should say 5 or 6, from TV, 19 vaccine, shall we say, competition going on. And I hope we can talk about that a little bit.
We can. I have a question about that, though.
Yes.
Judyth. It's my understanding that there has never in the history of mankind been a vaccine that has been successfully created to treat these CV, the coronas, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to say it directly, but this type of virus has never had a vaccine created for it. I mean, it's essentially the same thing that creates the common cold, and they've never been able to cure the common cold. So why is it that now they think that they can do something different if they've never ever been able to in the past.
Let's put it this way: the dollar sign has a lot to do with this.
Okay, that makes sense. At least, at least they have the opportunity to try, and they are probably going to get massive federal funding to go ahead and go through it.
They have already, and I'd really like to talk about some of that. I've written down the data because I don't want anybody to think I'm misquoting or anything like that. But very interesting, it came out today. It's from the Texas Biomedical Research Institute in Texas. What's very interesting about this is that, and I'm quoting, they're testing the efficacy of vaccines and treatments from drug makers in the lab and on animal models, said his name is Corey Helen, Vice President of Business Development and Strategic Partnerships. Mm-hmm. Strategic partnerships, business development. Ask yourself, Joanne Turner, who is the Institute's Vice President of Research, was saying, we're working to help find the most effective vaccine, all right? And then the next quote here is from somebody who's interested in business development and strategic partnerships with these various vaccines. As to how much honesty will they have in their obtaining. It says here, we're supporting a lot of these large firms, not small firms, large firms who are coming to us to do their testing for them, said Helen, who declined to disclose which firms Texas Biomed is working with, okay, what they're working with. We're doing lab testing, which tends to be happening in parallel with some of their human testing right now. I'm going to tell you what, if you're a scientist, been working a long time in biomedical research, you know that, first of all, you're supposed to test in vitro in the glass. Okay? Mm-hmm. Then you go to animal testing, then you go to human. What we have here is animal, glass, and human all at the same time. You talk about riskiness. These poor volunteers, says by testing in a lab on animals and on humans simultaneously, more data is being generated faster, allowing, it says, a product, okay, to clear regulating hurdles more rapidly and get to market faster. Where is our care in handling this? Worse, what are they trying to get marketed? So,
well, as an example, one of the treatments they've come up with, remdesivir.
We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, it does. It seems to not work at all. I mean, from what I've read, there is virtually no difference in the outcome. Let's say if you were going to expire as a result of getting the COOF for the CV19, then you're still going to expire even if you take remdesivir. But then you place it against a known quantity such as HCQ, hydroxychloroquine. Or hydrochloroquine, whatever it is, that we know that works. I mean, we've seen people, have incredible results, full recoveries within hours. But of course, that's pennies a pill versus $1,000 a single treatment for remdesivir. So, how much are these CV19?
We must ignore anything devoted to quinine, which is so cheap and can't be patented or anything like that.
That's the ticket right there, because it can't be patented.
Yeah, it's pitiful that we're talking about an 11%. I could read it all to you. Result. Basically, if you're going to get over the disease, you'll get over it 4 days faster using remdesivir. At the cost, my friend, of at least $3,120. Whereas any of these quinine derivative, if you take them early on, okay, you won't. Many people say they haven't developed the symptoms, and that costs you about $1 a pill. Oh dear, we can't do that. Now, I have to explain something about quinine, though. You cannot. What you get in like tonic water and all that, you'd have to drink 2 liters of it to get the same amount you get from one of these pills.
Yeah, you're not going to feel too good drinking 2 liters.
Well, you shouldn't.
No.
But I have learned, a number of people who have been following my advice, and always go to a doctor, folks. Don't blame me if something happens to you.
Yeah.
You think that I'm a doctor, all right? You go to a doctor.
Remember the beginning, not medical advice.
Right. Well, it's advice that I take.
Mm-hmm.
I am 77, and I don't have any problem. I've been to Walmart and all kinds of places where they sneeze and cough all over you. All right. I never took the flu shot, of course, that stuff. But one of the things I noticed several times it started coming down with was like a cold. So I take some of the just quinine to tonic water and add to it concentrated frozen grape juice until it was sweet enough, full of vitamin C, of course, and some zinc. Bingo, it was gone. Now that I've done that 3 or 4 times, and I think it's no coincidence that it's worked. Now, how much? For me, I've taken 1 in the morning, 1 at night, and I'll do that like 2 days, and it's gone. It's just doesn't happen. Now, what this malady is, I'm not sure, but I usually don't get sick from anything. So I think it's very interesting that I felt this malaise coming on, and it got rid of it. That's all I will say on this subject, except that if you have a blood clotting issue, you should ask your doctor, especially because if you're a bleeder, it can cause a lot of problems. On the other hand, we know that CV19 causes blood clots. And if this material simply stops blood clots from forming, that's good.
That is good. That is good. What do you know about the action of elderberries and elderberry syrup? That's a homeopathic remedy that I've used myself in the past on top of, massive dosing of vitamin C.
Well, phytochromes and so on that are in elderberry and also in black currant and so on, all these dark anthracene type, they're purple usually, but be careful. Don't use purple from potatoes, for example, which that's from the nightshade family, and that you're talking about an entirely different kind of pigment there that, is not, that's not what you want to put in your body. Mm-hmm. But there's elderberry, all these dark berries. These are so good for you. They're good for your eyes. They're good for your skin. They're good for, good grief, if you can bathe in it, do it,
It's a superfood, right? I mean. It
is. Now, you can get too much of anything. Mm-hmm. For example, you have heavy metals that are often part of the component that makes up the pigmentation. That can be it could be chromium or anything like that. So, use good sense. Don't overdo anything, but don't neglect it. Mm-hmm. Can't go wrong, really, with blueberries and so on, organic especially. Now, it's interesting. I did an experiment the other day with potatoes. I had forgotten how much we've messed up the genomes and the ability of our food to be presented to us in a manner that is helpful for us. So I planted all these potatoes, and not one of them sprouted. Oh my gosh, I forgot. What I forgot is that we are now using radiation on all our potatoes.
That's right, because they initially started doing that so that they could take food into space, right? I only learned that like 2 years ago, and I was just blown away. Like, I was like, no wonder food never goes bad very quickly any longer. Everything's irradiated.
They used to have to put on a package that it was irradiated. And they say, well, look, okay, there's a little radiation left, but that's not enough in this food. But when you add up everybody's food, you have so many different food sources now that have been irradiated. I don't think anybody's ever done a study on seeing what the total dosage then would be, for a lifetime. Probably not that significant, but if it's a borderline matter, like you're also exposed to radon, had a lot of x-rays, or you've had chemo and you've had radiation, it could tip you over into getting cancer.
Yeah, this is something I've often thought about because when they talk about, like, whatever the maximum dose is for any type of health damaging thing like radiation or fluoride in your water, they're talking about what you're consuming in a single serving of whatever it is, not taking into account the totality of that accumulation all throughout the day or all throughout your life. With fluoride in particular, the amount of fluoride that you consume on a daily basis, if you live in a city where the water is fluoridated and your food is cooked with fluoridated water, there's absolutely no way to tell how much fluoride you're getting, but you can bet that you are getting a massive dose over and above whatever it is that they are saying a safe level is.
And we have this link between fluoride and thyroid incapacity. And so many people now are hyper, not anymore hyper, but it's hypo. Mm-hmm. Hypothyroid. They are not getting enough of the hormone that they need because it's simply being instead of iodine, which fluoride is more active than iodine, will replace it, and that messes up a lot of and actually destroys some of the thyroid gland itself.
Well,
so you can't make as much.
And it also does the same thing with calcium too in your cells, in your bones. And we have an epidemic of osteoporosis, or what would appear to be osteoporosis in the United States. But it is
blame Coca-Cola for one of that. Absolutely. You take I've told kids, do this. Take yourself get some pig teeth or any bones, stick them in Coca-Cola for a week, and you have a science fair project because it turns to rubber,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I can't even imagine. I've seen steaks dissolve in Coca-Cola, but never seen bones turn to rubber.
Yeah, well, the calcium, of course, you're going to have to get a matter of stasis where, you have all that acid, and what you have, the calcium is going to react with that acid. And if you're drinking it, your bones, to get your pH correct again in your body, leaches the calcium out of your bones into your bloodstream so that you won't have too much acid in your system. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we can go on. I've got some things to read to you, though. I think that you'll find that are important.
Please. Well, real quick, Judyth, I've got several of your books here. I've been a big fan of your work for a long time. Judyth is the author of David Ferrie, Mafia Pilot, Participant in Anti-Castro Bioweapon Plot, Friend of Lee Harvey Oswald, and Key to the JFK Assassination. That's an incredible book. So much information about David Ferrie. You probably would remember David Ferrie from the Oliver Stone movie JFK. He was featured in there. I believe it was the guy from Goodfellas. I can't remember his name.
Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci played him. Yes, he was a real creep in the movie. I bet he was a creep in real life. And then we also have Kennedy and Oswald.
If you've read about David, he was very... But go ahead about Kennedy and Oswald.
And then me and Lee. All wonderful books. Now, Judyth, just so that people know, I want you to tell them where they can purchase your books. Where is the best place for people to purchase them so that you get the best benefit?
You're going to get the truth of these books. You're going to get the truth. Me and Lee has been out over a decade. Nobody has ever challenged me face to face about anything in that book. I have witnesses, I have documents, and personal, of course, experiences. And we've had new evidence files that have come out supporting everything. Mm-hmm. You get the book, and it's important. It helps me keep going too, just like you're doing here. I'm working as hard as I can to get the truth out to everybody. Mm-hmm. And very angry about how we're being treated. Our country's being treated by people who have taken over since Kennedy was shot. Exactly. Yeah. Right. So you go to therealjudythvarybaker@gmail.com using PayPal, and it's $35 for any of those books autographed. Now, recently I had to send off 6 books to Australia, and it cost $38 just to mail them. So please, if you're from Australia, add shipping, more money.
Well, how about this? Why don't we just have people email you first so that you can verify what the shipping will be? Because I just, I hope everybody realizes, since Judyth has essentially lived on the run for her entire life as a result of the work that she did and the people that she was associated with. So it is extremely important, in my opinion, and you may agree with me. If you don't, that's okay. But to support people like Judyth, because she was involved in some stuff that was really nefarious. And quite honestly, the same people who have taken over our country and who took out JFK and are trying to take out the president are the same people that tried to recruit her into becoming a part of that system and also remove her from the equation once she didn't want to be involved anymore. So we've got to continue to support people.
You said it succinctly, and I thank you for that. For 13 years, I moved every 90 days. Now I'm trapped in the United States, and people have helped me to go to a place where I'm safe here, a more secure place.
Good.
And I thank everybody who's helped me that way so I can keep speaking out. There's so much, and I want to help people and teach them how to survive in this terrible world that has been created for us. We didn't do this. We like people. We don't want to hurt blacks. Blacks don't want to hurt us. It's just awful the way we're being divided. It's in my personal life with all the people I know. We've never had any conflicts. We all just want to have a life.
Yeah, I think that's the way that it is for the majority of people. People they want to live, they want to be happy, they want to provide for their families, they want to be successful, and they want to have a place to call their own. Okay, and over the course of the last 50 years, they have been working on a grand social experiment to destroy as much of that stuff as they can so that they can use us in whatever way they see fit. And I know my audience is well aware of everything that's happened, so...
We're waking up. People are waking up.
They are.
I don't think there's going to be a time to save someone like President Trump. I don't know how many attempts have been made on his life, but I know how his friends have been treated, and truly. A good example, I'm going to lose Facebook friends by saying this, but I have to. Roger Stone has been, he's the one that talked about dirty tricks. Nobody did that before he did. So everybody hates Roger Stone. Oh, you did dirty tricks. He's the one that exposed this. What really happened.
It's true. It's true. He was just not afraid to say it out loud.
And he didn't want Nixon, who he's quoted many times as saying, I wanted to be president, but I wasn't willing to kill for it. All right. So he has Nixon, tattooed on his back. To see this man arrested, just before dawn, in his slippers, put handcuffs on him with all the machine guns and so on pointed at him, going through his house like that. I mean, this is America. This is not the Gestapo, is it? So Trump has gotten a lot of trouble, I suppose, by commuting his sentence. But child molesters and rapists who don't go to jail as long as one.
Exactly. And here's the thing, Judyth. You look at the commutations of Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. They've had far more, and people who were convicted of far more serious crimes, So in my mind, the Roger Stone commutation, I'm sure in the minds of many people watching tonight, completely justified. They were attempting to put him in prison and make sure that he died in there. And it was a completely bogus charge because there was no crime committed in the first place that started the investigation. So whatever the left and the mainstream media wants to cry out in the night because Roger Stone isn't going to go to prison, I think that we're all going to sleep well at night knowing that everything is a little bit better off and a little bit fairer.
Well, it's wonderful. As I say, I don't know how many Facebook friends I'll lose, but since all my Facebook is full, that'll make room for people who do care about everything being treated equitably, Yeah. Okay, so what I wanted to say about remdesivir, which I think you ought to know, so they want to sell it for $3,120 per course. It is, all right? It only costs $10 to actually produce it.
So ridiculous.
Well, now they claim, we did all this research and all this. Well, wait a minute. The governments have been paying for the research.
American taxpayer have been paying for it.
That's right. So I'm not happy that I'd like to read to you something about these are some of the, and it'll be in my CV-19 handbook, which if people can get through PayPal, send any amount, and so I can keep on the air and everything.
Judyth, I'm gonna share that your email and the information. So
Okay.
you guys, Judyth has created a CV-19 handbook. You know what that means. And if you donate any amount to her via PayPal, and you can do it using the email address I'm putting in the chat, therealjudythvarybaker@gmail.com. Donate any amount to her and she will send you the handbook for free. This is the same email address that you can reach her on if you want to purchase her autographed books. You can get in touch with her, and I'm sure that you probably correspond with a lot of people all across the globe. I mean, you're a wonderful person, very, very friendly, and you've got a lot of information.
Yes, and unfortunately, people they've been giving good donations, like $10, which helped a lot, has helped me a lot. But and they didn't get their handbook. Why? They keep changing the rules. They keep changing what works. They keep changing everything. But we have a final result. But here are some things that work, and you never hear about them. Well, most important of all, really, that besides remdesivir, which you're hearing about, with Gilead is the one who's created this. And they first worked with China, and then China tried to steal it from them. Long story. But they're lobbying. I sent you a little piece of information. They spent $2.45 million in the first quarter of 2020 lobbying to get Congress. And what did they get? They got millions and millions of dollars in order to be the number one drug that's being looked at now and tested in the United States.
So in that information, it says remdesivir versus dexamethasone. What is the difference? Is dexamethasone an older drug?
Dexamethasone is a corticosteroid. The way it works, in the same with quinine sometimes. Anyway, all of these that are related anyway to quinine. The way that works and the way this corticosteroid works, all right, that imethicone, is very interesting because it literally makes the virus. It has all these little looks like you'd see on an octopus, little suckers.
Okay.
To a cell and then attack it. And it makes it so it's less sticky. It can't detach. And it's cheap. I mean, we're talking about, you can get it for a few dollars. Oh no, but we have to have remdesivir. Why? Because we're talking about $3,000 a shot. This is total corruption. And we have cornered the market and right now won't let anybody else make it. The United States took it all. Did the United States do it? No. We have actually this company that had lobbied to make sure that the U.S. would buy it all. And then they set the price, and the government is saying, okay, I'll pay it. That's us. We're paying for it. And the stuff only reduces your time in the hospital if you recover by 3 or 4 days. And that's only about 11 to 14% of the people taking it.
It's just so ridiculous.
Never worked. This drug has, only because they're tweaking it like crazy.
Wow.
Now, trying to get it to work. But what did they do with hydroxyquinone? They said, well, we tried it on VA veterans, and they died from it. Well, sure they did, because they didn't use it in the beginning. Remember when I said I drank that quinine water, and I felt just great. 77, I go everywhere, and no problem. Well, maybe it's my immune system, all right. But the point of the matter is, this stuff, you drink it, and making the virus less sticky, if you want to talk about it like that, just cannot. That's very interesting. It can do that when remdesivir makes people really sick when they have all kinds of side effects. It's never worked on anything. but that's what we've got.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if it worked on those pawpaw fruits that tested positive.
And I think about using artificial UV, germicidal light. I use one all the time. You can use it on masks, disinfect them. In 1 minute, going across the mask kills everything.
Mm-hmm.
Another way, folks, to kill it, you know how they want you to stay inside and don't go out to the beach?
Because then you can't get UV.
Sunlight, that UV, that blue light, okay, that's the far UV, and we're talking about nanometers of 207 to 222. In that range of blue, ultraviolet, kills germs without causing harm to human tissues.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the sun with its blue rays and its, ultraviolet down there, and it can give you have to be careful not to get melanoma, but a few minutes in the sun, you're lying on the beach, you toasty, turn over, breathe the air, get in the water, the seawater. It's the best place to get rid of the stuff, and there won't be any on a beach with the sun shining.
Yeah.
You could take a cart and spray it all you want, but if that cart is out, people in Walmart, it's out in the sun and it's hot to touch, it's safe.
Mm-hmm.
It's safe to use. But no, we have to stay inside. We have to stay apart from each other. We must especially ignore anything that might help us to get well. What is going on? What in the heck is going on?
It's the mirror world.
Civil disobedience. Instead of going out and setting fire to everything, why don't you go out and sunbathe everybody?
It's a great idea.
Colony.
Yeah. Let's not burn down our businesses. Let's go ahead and just go outside and get a tan.
Not a dangerous one. Don't get your melanoma, but get yourself in that sun and put your clothes out and hang them in the sun. Open the doors, get that stupid virus out of your house. Use the germicidal UV lamp that does not create, you don't want the ozone created one in your home. These are things we should do, They have, the American Society for Microbiology tells us that suramin, bexarotene, this is cetirlistat, which I'd never heard of before, diiodohydroxyquinoline, abiraterone, remdesivir, of course. All of these have some effect in killing the virus in vitro. And yet and dexamethasone has been proven 35% lower death rate if they're on a ventilator, 20% if they're on just oxygen, reducing the death rate, absolutely reducing it. Remdesivir has reduced nothing. Why would you not ask your doctor, if you come down with the symptoms, to use dexamethasone, please? Corticosteroid. It's common and it's cheap, and that's why they always say in the news that, remdesivir is one of two that's been proven to work, but they never name the other one. That is power over the media.
What's interesting, too, is that we've been talking about it for a couple of weeks, but quite a bit of attention has been placed today on the inflation of the numbers of people who have expired as a result of this. There was our favorite Anon, Q, posted multiple posts today talking about this subject specifically. And it's we've joked plenty of times about someone dying in a car crash and then having their cause of death be listed as CV-19. Well, we learned today from, I believe it was one of the, I don't know who it was. I'm sorry. I can't remember I've got the post right here. I got to pull it up. But he was like the coroner in Los Angeles or in Arizona or something like that. And he said, that there was two people on the list that had passed away recently in their 20s. And so the reporter wanted to find out, hey, did they have some massive comorbidity? Did they have a history of, lung disease? And he was like, no, one of them died in a car wreck. Be like, okay, so How can you legitimately count that? I mean, the answer to that is you can't legitimately count it, but they are just looking to inflate the numbers as much as possible. I think that it's no mistake, that in each of these Democrat-controlled states, they pushed all of the people who were testing positive into the nursing homes, okay, and then withheld the HCQ from them, and then that's how they got their numbers up. But it's just so incredible to think that this is the state of science in our country. They are so interested in making sure Donald Trump is lambasted and made to look like the worst president in the history of mankind, and to keep us afraid that they're willing to inflate the numbers like this.
The other thing is there are members of not my immediate family, but my son's divorced side of the family. 5 of them, six of them all together got it. Them ended up in the hospital. One of them was in her 90s. They all recovered. There are symptoms left over, don't get me wrong, and this stuff does mutate. It has HIV insertion in it. My friends, don't believe anybody who tells you that this is natural. All right? This HIV insertion makes it difficult to produce true antibodies. You'll have a lot of antibodies, but they won't be very effective against this. Then if this mutates, and it's very easy for it to mutate, we're going to see resurgences. But what are we looking at? We're looking at something that has been engineered, and I don't care where it came from. They can argue all day long. We know we had plenty of at least 3 universities that were working with it, with Chinese scientists in the United States. Mm-hmm. Have those same scientists going to Wuhan, and they can talk about, it didn't happen there, or whose fault it was, or it was accidental. We shouldn't have been working on it to begin with. The fact that SARS and all these seem to have been man-made, created in biological warfare type laboratories. We have over 200 of them. I would like to see the CIA do something valuable for a change besides allowing poppies to grow in Afghanistan.
Right.
And protecting their investment there. I would like to see the good men and the good women in the CIA bust these biolabs and get rid of them. Even if every country had only one biolab, saying, we have to have this to defend ourselves. If we just made them so that they're absolutely illegal, then we could run down any of you're always going to have somebody trying to save smallpox or something like that. Mm-hmm. And run them down and that's how we really can get rid of these things forever. Or we're going to have more of the same. And the lockdowns, that scientists have this much power. They're not elected. They have lots of money behind them. You've got this remdesivir. Dr. Fauci, for all of his saying, I'm not making any money. But it's he is in charge of the section of the National Institute of Health that is pushing remdesivir, okay? And he gets glory from that. Look at him. We see him every day, don't we?
Doesn't he have a business association as well as running these actual studies? I mean, doesn't he get money from the grant program and everything that's funding it?
Of course he's rich, but no, not actually. It reminds me of Dr. Oxner, who would get Cadillacs every year from Murchison and others.
So it's an in-kind donation.
He'll get plenty of donations for the work he's doing. He gets plenty of glory for spearheading all this, and he's not necessarily rich himself. I don't think he's really interested in that much. But the problem is that a lot of people associated with him are.
What about his association with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation? I believe I had read that he's sitting on the board in some capacity.
They're friends, but I can tell you, by the way, in my CV-19 handbook, I've got a wonderful report in there, all right, that you can read, and it will tell you everything about Bill and Melinda Gates. And honestly, I would like to call that, I'm not going to say it online here. Let's put it this way, I would never want to meet them.
No, I wouldn't either.
They've done a great deal of damage in the name of eugenics. Mm-hmm. Now, Gates' father, of course, was head of Planned Parenthood, and a eugenicist.
Mm-hmm.
And the bottom line is, if he's trying to save all these people in Africa, how come they're so sick all the time?
Right.
But why is it that all these injections are for polio? What about all the other needs they have and the other diseases they have? Why is it just polio? I want to tell you something about polio. Polio is a very interesting and very simple virus upon which you can piggyback almost anything you want. It has like a little platform on it where you can stick almost anything you want on it and have it. That's how the SV40 monkey virus got into everybody's systems. And what does that do? It causes polioma. That is, it causes cancer in mammals. The last I knew, we were also mammals. Mm-hmm. Now, it's a latent thing. It's not to your immune system, it goes down. So people don't realize that the SV40 monkey virus in their system can probably elicit cancer somewhere along the line. It would be so far removed. And they don't look at these tumors. They take them out. Oh, they're cancers. They don't check them for viruses. If they did, we'd know what is causing them. They don't want you, I hate to say it, to make so much money off these cancers. They do not want to identify the viruses that are causing them.
No, the money is There's in the treatments, not the cure.
Our cancer palaces. That's where they live. Big cancer palaces built with our money and with our blood and tears.
It really is enough to make you angry. I mean, you think back over the last several decades, imagine how many people have had to suffer, how many people have died, how many people were giving useless treatments, how many fortunes were lost because people did whatever they could to try and keep their loved ones alive. It's maddening. Real quick, I need to say thank you to Kyle. He said this is for the War Chest, and thank you for all the great content. Thank you very much, Kyle. And then my friend Hey Jude says, please thank her for my autographed copy of Me and Lee. Okay, so she must have bought the book, or maybe she sent you an email to get the book. So thank you, Hey Jude, for that. I appreciate it. And you guys, we've got about 13 minutes before we get into the call-in portion of the show. I just want to say, get your questions ready for Judyth Varybaker. Also, we have just over 2,300 people here hanging out. If you guys wouldn't mind, please consider liking and sharing the program. We've got 1,000 likes, and we could get quite a few more than what we have right now. I would really appreciate it. This is great information. And if you want to get a hold of Judyth, once again, the information is in the description below. Now, Judyth, you also have a conference coming up, a JFK conference. I want to make sure we talk about that as well. What can you tell us about that, and how many years have you been doing this?
Well, this would be the 8th annual conference. Of course, there were conferences before this, but those conferences did not pay to bring speakers in, fly them in. In fact, often they charge speakers to speak. What our conferences have accomplished is that we've brought in people like Wynn Johnson. I'll use that as an example. A person who never could afford to travel to a conference and to give speech and all that. But he observed Lee Oswald standing with David Atlee Phillips and Antonio Veciana, in Dallas. And in other words, Veciana said that Lee Oswald was there, but he had no witness. Now he does. We've put together, and you can get, we have, DVDs from 2016, 2017, 2019, and 20. We have DVDs that you can order. They're $35 the same way. We'll get you DVDs of these conferences. Now, about the conference coming up, because of what's happened, we are going to make a mix where we're going to have streaming video like we have right now. But we're going to we hope to go from witness to witness in their homes so they can speak. We're going to get them on film again. These films are so valuable. These people are not going to live forever. Mm-hmm. Nick was Abraham Bolden. Now, he was present when, as a member of the Secret Service in Chicago, had been on the Kennedy detail, the first Black who was made a Secret Service member by President Kennedy and attached to his own personal safety unit. And he was there in Chicago when the FBI called in and said, stand down, Kennedy's not coming to Chicago. What's the matter? What's going on? Well, what was going on is that a tipster had told them where they could find armed men, with their high-powered rifles in tall buildings, all right, in Chicago. And they arrested them. By the way, this is dreadful. I mean, it's what happened. FBI let them go later. Well, there's so much for that,
Wow.
Yes, but they did have a Mr. Valley, Vallee. Sounds a lot like Lee, all right? But the Mr. Valley was like a patsy already set up. He had former Marine, and he was disgruntled, had he had a head injury. There were ways to make him a patsy. You could see it all. But the person who called that in, his name was Lee. That was Lee. Lee told me on the last conversation we ever had, which was only 37 and a half hours before the assassination. And Lee told me that he didn't think he was going to get out of this alive. He told me to please have babies, because I think he knew I would have killed myself, but he made me promise to have babies. And he asked me to make sure that his little girls would know that he, quote, that I was a good guy. And he risked his life, and he said, I'm under suspicion now because of what I did 3 weeks ago. And when I add that up, that goes to the Chicago. Kennedy lived 3 more weeks before he's finally taken out in Dallas. Lee joined an abort team. You can read all about it in my book. Also about the development of how easy it is to make a biological weapon. Mm-hmm. And I objected when they were going to use prisoners who were volunteers, who never volunteered to be victims, but just to be, I'm going to go and volunteer for cancer research, And if it worked, it was going to kill them because, of course, it was being engineered to kill Fidel Castro. Now, that's when I objected and I was kicked out. So Lee and I were then corresponding, by phone. But he told me everything that was going to happen. It did. He didn't think he'd get out alive, but he said, Judyth, he called me Judyth. I loved Russian and Russian people and all that. We had a lot in common. He said, I made an oath as a Marine. And if you're a Marine, you're always a Marine. Mm-hmm. Said, to obey my president. He said, I can't obey a dead president. Mm-hmm. He loved Kennedy. Recently, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. came out and said, Lee Harvey Oswald loved my uncle.
Really?
Yes, because he knows.
Wow.
People have shown him stuff. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever spoken with Robert F. Kennedy in your work?
Yes. I don't want to reduce his importance by my presence or by anybody knowing any of that stuff. It's or any details, because
of course I wouldn't ask.
What he's doing is extremely important. And it's mind-boggling how successful he's been. I pray for his safety. I ask everyone to do so. And please, people, my life has been absolutely ruined by speaking out. Right. I have a normal life since, and a lot of my family have nothing to do with me for speaking out. Wow. But the worst of all, I suppose, is that old, nasty accusations against me, like Mary Sherman was never a cancer researcher, mice cannot be given cancer. She claimed to have done cancer research in a coffee factory. All this crazy stuff is out there. It's just mind-boggling that it's still there. It's there forever on the internet.
Well, I had no idea that people tried to discount the idea that Dr. Mary Sherman was a cancer. There's the book Dr. Mary's Monkey. I own that one as well. I read that, me and Lee in tandem. So, is everybody's making it up?
Well, this one, it's amazing. What's important, and I think just if you don't believe me, come meet me and see the evidence files. Here, recently on my Facebook page, Judyth Baker, if you scroll back a few days, you'll find the voice of Mac McCullough. He's one of the witnesses who saw me and Lee all the time together. And he's on tape saying, warning that the mafia may kill me for speaking out. So that tape's right, and that's his voice. And we have other witnesses too. And why are they important, and is the evidence? Because people are trying to say things like, oh, she has no witnesses. I don't care about that. I give out my real name, and you can see me right here. Ask me the questions. I'm ready for them. Let's see what people want to ask.
Good stuff. All right. Now, Julie Costello, I think it was in the chat, said something about Cash App being compromised. I don't know what you're talking about. What I can say is that any technology company is probably in some part owned by, you know, somebody who's questionable. That's unfortunately just the nature of the world that we live in today. But I think maybe you might be referring to the hack the other day that happened on Twitter. Cash App's account was one of the accounts that was hacked into, like Binance and Joe Biden and Barack Obama. Many accounts were hacked into, and they published hacked tweets with a Bitcoin scam. But I mean, you know, there's only a couple of different ways that people can donate. And unfortunately, Cash App and PayPal are it, unless you want to join as a member for, you know, on Patreon or on Subscribestar. And there's no minimum. People can, you know, you can donate as much or as little as you want. It doesn't matter. And
it keeps us going, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody's going to hire you, you know. I mean, I wanted to cure cancer. That was my whole. And I was forbidden to get anywhere near any of that. But here's the point. We are not as helpless as they make us think we are. We're supposed to stay indoors in some places. Now, we have many businesses that are being destroyed. So much in America. We have great people in this country. They're willing to take risks, all right, in order to get back to a normal life. What's happening to our children? We have millions of kids this year who had the most lousy summer of their entire life. Can you imagine being stuck inside and all you have are those hideous video games? I'm sorry, but what if they need to get out in the sun and get their putrid white skin tan? They need to try their muscles. The only muscles they got right now are in their thumbs.
I was just going to say. It's so true. If I would have been, you know, between the ages of 12 and 16 and forced to stay inside all summer, I would have gone absolutely insane. But let's be honest, Judyth, I think that is part of the plan, okay? That's what they want. They want people to be forced to stay inside so that all of that energy that they would otherwise be using to do productive things or to go outside, maybe do yard work, hang out with friends, you know, get out and hike. It doesn't matter. You know, yeah, enjoy life. All of it now has been internalized.
Your kids 24/7. Nature never intended that. Kids are supposed to run outside and play and have a joyful time. People are the man would go off, you know, and hunt a buffalo or whatever, and the woman would be back. Whatever it was, we had division of duties. We had work to do for each other. We took care of each other. When you get home, and I'm sorry, I get tired of my own face in the mirror if that's all I could see. It's awful that we are in this situation. It's antisocial. Social distancing is social destruction.
You know what I was really interested to learn is that the concept of social distancing, which is an unproven tactic, was developed by a high school student for a science fair. It was an idea that they used, and then they wrote up a report on it, basically, in a diorama, and then they decided to put it into use. Now, obviously, you know, quarantine is a long-established way to ensure that people don't pass sicknesses back and forth. Also, mask wearing, which was initially poo-pooed by Dr. Anthony Fauci, and then all of a sudden, it's the holy grail of making sure that you're not going to get sick. You know, when in the actuality, it's probably more likely to make you sick because you're rebreathing all of that nasty stuff.
Carbon dioxide. Here's the thing with those masks: stick them in the oven at 200 degrees for 2 minutes, and they're sterilized.
Okay.
And that's true for any food you get. You get fast food or whatever. Which a lot of people, that's all they know. They don't even know how to cook, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're living on dreadful food. I've lived some long time overseas, and when I come back to America, it's a good place to get sick.
It's true.
It's true. So many fat people, and I've gained, being stuck in the house, and I hurt myself. I have to get an operation. I fell and got hurt a year ago. I've gained 20 pounds, and it's all Whopper.
I don't eat fast food, but I definitely gained weight during this quarantine, let me tell you.
He says, you know, whenever I've seen him, he'll bring me, when we see each other, bring me a bag of Whoppers, because I missed them from overseas. Now, all here, and they've got to go, Okay. So the point is, everybody I've talked to, they're all gaining weight. It's the wrong kind of weight. You're sedentary. It's not good for you. It shortens your life. Our lives are being shortened by staying inside just as badly as if we had the virus. So my idea for civil disobedience is get out and get some sun. Is who's going to stop you from lying outside on your own front yard? Or if you don't have a front yard, on your balcony or something like that. But do something and be an American who cares about other Americans. Show your love to each other. Show your love for your neighbor, no matter what color they are, or how old they are, or whatever. By the way, the incidents about Sweden, a lot of the deaths in Sweden happened because the Swedish did not properly take care of their nursing home. It's the same thing.
Same here. Yeah, the exact same thing.
They were not giving them anything. They gave them morphine, which actually reduces your ability to breathe.
Well, there was a short documentary that came out not too long ago. A nurse, Erin Marie Olszewski. I want to get her on the show so bad. I just don't know how to get in touch with her directly. She was working at the epicenter in New York City. Or maybe it's just New York State.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, with the hidden cameras. And, she said that as soon as people came in, they would just dope them up. Immediately dope them up. And, of course, they're not going to get better. And people who were, like, walking, talking, breathing, up and moving around, and they're like, okay, just give them a morphine drip. And then, of course, their respiratory function is going to be depressed.
It diminishes with morphine.
Yeah.
I was shocked that they were using it.
Yeah.
They've got pain, we'll give them morphine. Then it compromises their ability to breathe, and then the thing takes over and really takes off.
That's it.
Defend yourselves. But it's time to assert who you are as an American. When is it that an American would just roll over and play dead when told to do it by some dog trainer?
Yeah. No, that's not us. That's not us. All right, you guys, we are going to go into our first caller for the evening. God's daughter is on the line. God's daughter, thank you so much for being here. How are you tonight?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great. What's going on?
Good. Well, I mostly just wanted to call in to say hello to you and to Dr. Judyth. Hi, I'm giving you virtual hugs from a distance. My hair is unusually long because of the COVID thing.
Me too. It's been I've gotten one haircut in the last 6 months. It's killing me.
Me too. Mine's usually about your short, and because I'm so frumpy and dumpy, it looks better short. But
God's daughter, remember that.
I'm
never forget.
Spacious. Listen, I wanted to just call and ask you what specifically, besides Robert F. Kennedy, can I add to my prayer list? Tell me that, Dr. Judyth. Tell me what you want me specifically to pray for, and I'm going to add that to my list.
Well, he has a voice affliction. Sometimes this can get better. This developed after he was an adult. And it's terribly affected his ability to impress people with the knowledge he has and so on. This is something that sometimes can be reversed. It'd be wonderful if we all prayed for him and for the affliction that he has.
Okay, I'll do that. And what about for you?
I just want people to just love each other, and then that's going to make me happy.
Okay. Red Pill, are you there, or are you letting Muffingate out? Okay, I'll make up something. Listen, do you want me to pray right now, or I don't want to be rude and
no. Go ahead. Go ahead. There's no reason not to. Go ahead.
Okay. And I'm a devout Christian, so I pray in Jesus' name. If everybody's cool with that, okay?
We're good with that here. Don't worry.
All right, good. All right, Father, in the name of Jesus and in the power of the Holy Spirit, I pray that you will provide miraculous healing. In the name of Jesus, and again in the power of the Holy Spirit, for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Father, I pray that you will provide Dr. Judyth with the peace and the provision that she needs, and the love and the joy, Father, that she is always where she needs to be when she needs to be there. Grant her all the finances that she needs, Father, and a bit of what she just wants to have for joy, Lord. Father, I pray for Red Pill and Red Pill girlfriend and Red Pill mom. Father, I pray that you will bless and keep them safe and provide for them all the provision that they need. Father, I'm going to also pray for our president, Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, and bless and keep him strong. Reveal to him any snakes in the grass that are in his inner circle. And I pray against those spirits, Father, in the name of Jesus. And I pray that you will surround him with good friends and good prophets of God. Like, if I may say, if I may drop names here, I pray that Mark Taylor and Amanda Grace will become his close personal confidant. I fully believe in them. I hope I was okay to say that. Lord, I thank you for your love, for your presence. I pray peace and joy and comfort on all of my brother and sister patriots. And Father, I believe that the next couple of months are going to be kind of rough, but because we're in the storm, we're in birth pains, Lord. But when we get through this, God is going to deliver joy on the other side. In the name of Jesus, I name it, proclaim it in Jesus' name, in the power of the Holy Spirit. Amen, amen, amen.
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 All right. God's daughter, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right. Well, you have a wonderful evening.
Okay.
Let's see.
All right.
But I think even people who don't like Mr. Trump, we are admonished to pray for our leaders and our presidents. And if he were the worst man on the face of the earth, he definitely then needs prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who's against him, and there are many, but we have much bigger problems, and we are being maneuvered into hating each other. And this is the biggest problem we have. But then on the others, they want us to kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because anybody who wants to reduce the population, who wants to handle the finances, who wants to get rid of the middle class, which has the power to unseat even the evil ones. Fight for what you have, and that doesn't mean you have to fight with violence. You fight with love. You know what? Every act of love overwhelms so much evil. So all of you out there, I love you. Just love each other. Love can conquer anything. I know it for myself, because I hated people for what they did to Lee, for what they did to Kennedy. And that just festered, and I had nightmares. And when I finally spoke out and I felt a healing, I knew I was doing the right thing. And Lee came to me in a dream, but the Lord came to me in a dream. And that did it. I understood that we're able to fight this only by not being evil ourselves. Mm-hmm. Don't make you be mean and rotten to each other. Don't let them do it. Cherish each other, love each other. And I know it sounds so naive, but it really works.
It's true. I mean, it's amazing how good you can feel when you unburden yourself of that hatred. I was very angry when I was a little kid, and there was a point at which my mom said to me, "You're going to have to make a choice. Are you going to live like this for the rest of your life, or are you going to try to go a different way?" And I had to, I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I mean, she's got a point, and I just had to choose a different way to be. And it hasn't always worked throughout my life. I mean, I've had people that have made me angry, but yeah, I feel like the man that I've grown into has, being able to put that behind them. People will always wrong you. People will always try to, take advantage of you at certain times, and you just have to pray for them, like you said. I mean, if somebody has evil in their heart, then they need more help than I do, and I am more than happy to send that love and healing energy their way. All right, let's see. We've got our next caller.
Questions, are there actual questions? That's
Our next caller, I know he may have a question for you, but I know he said that he wanted to call in tonight to make an announcement. He's got a birthday coming up. Dana Finkler, are you there, brother? He's got his phone connecting. Dana just learned that he is going to be a new father shortly. I don't know exactly when, but maybe he'll tell us. Dana, we got to get you to unmute, brother. Still muted. Still muted. Let me see if
you're
I
gonna
can.
have to-
Here we go. All right. Let me give a couple of thank yous while we're waiting for Dana to get that unmuted. Let's see here. I need to say thank you to my buddy Dave. I said that earlier, but I want to say it again. Dave, thank you once again. Earlier today, Julie Costello sent a donation. So thank you very much, Julie. I appreciate that. And Dana, you got your microphone working, buddy?
Nope.
Yeah.
There we go. Awesome. It's working. Cool. Dana, congratulations on the upcoming fatherhood. How are you?
Yeah. Here's the baby mama.
Good stuff. Hello.
Cool. So, yeah. Hey, man. Other than that, yeah, I have a big party I'm having coming up August 7th, 7 to 9 at Briar Barns in Michigan. So any of you guys, any of you patriots out there, you want to come out, you're more than welcome to. It's free. What do you think's best, Red Pill, email or phone number?
I would have people email you it so then you have the record of it, and then they can send and receive your phone number that way as well. But also you can send directions and the information about it, and then they've got that hard copy in their email. What city is it in?
That. Sparta,
okay.
Michigan.
Sparta, Michigan. Okay.
What
major cities is that close to?
Yeah, Grand Rapids. Yep.
Okay. So that's the west side of the state.
I got a stand-up comic coming. I have a taco bar, so everyone can eat some tacos and enjoy themselves. It's a free show. These people are very against Gretchen Whitmer, so this is really cool.
Okay.
They have signs posted that if you wear a mask, it violates your rights. So, I will have masks at the party if people want to wear them for their own convenience and whatnot. But other than that, dude, I just want people to come out, laugh, have some fun, and just enjoy yourself. That's as simple as that, man.
Good stuff, dude. Now, I know that there is an effort to recall Governor Whitmer right now. Are you going to have anybody from that movement there at the party?
Didn't know that, but if there's somebody that wants to get involved with that, please get a hold of me.
Have signatures. Let's get
rid of Stretch and Gretchen.
Awesome. Well, Dana, do you got any questions for Judyth? Have you been listening the whole time?
Yes, I do. Actually, yeah, I do. I'm actually heading down to Texas September 18th through the 20th, and this is a shout out to all the patriots out there. And you guys want to meet up with me on the 18th or the 19th? I'm going to the JFK assassination site, and as I got your shirt here, right here, man.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah. Can't kill an idea, baby.
No, you can't.
I will be having a bunch of signs and a bunch of stuff. I will have a "Where we bark one, we bark all" for Muffin Gate. So, but other than that, I'm gonna go check that out. I'm hoping John Barber, as we talked about, can get a hold of me.
He's a good. He still hasn't gotten a hold of you.
California.
No, yeah, no.
Okay,
I will. He's gonna go anywhere. He's older than you might imagine.
He is. He's sweet, but he's old. Yeah.
He's a great guy, man. I love that guy.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm just gonna finish this off with two things. I will end it with a question for her. Number one, dude, this tinfoil hat show that I've been talking to you about and talking about booking.
Yeah.
Is pretty much a done deal. It just takes Sam Tripoli getting a hold of them, and it's a done deal.
Okay. So I'll reach out to Sam. It's just got to be on certain days.
Yeah, and we know what's going on with the whole COVID thing. We got to work it out. That's the only thing.
Okay.
Other than that, that's the done deal, dude.
Okay.
And then your fee for your the podcast. Let's July 11th is when I found out I had a baby, and that was the day I decided I'm gonna be sober for the rest of my life.
Good for you, bro.
And I want to do a podcast a year from now. Have your people get a hold of me, and we'll take care of it, and we'll do something, man.
All right, for sure,
Huge festival. Huge festival. If you want to do that or something, man.
Yeah. Let's take a vote in the chat. If I was to do a live podcast with somebody like Sam Tripoli and some other people, how many people here would be interested in coming out and actually seeing that on stage? Give us a 1 in the chat. If you would like to see an event with me live, give us a 2. If you wouldn't, and it's okay. I won't be hurt. My feelings won't be hurt either way. But
dude, there's no way, man. There's no way, dude. This is gonna happen.
There's always gonna be somebody in the chat who doesn't want to see my face. Let's see. So what's your question for Judyth about what's going on?
Yeah. What are some of the historic spots that I should check out? Like, what are some of the best things? I didn't get a chance to check out the podcast because
Dana, what you ought to do, I'll be in Dallas about that time. What we ought to do is get together and I can show you and anyone with you spots that you'll never get from the, shall we call them, the vendors who run tours.
So perhaps some places that Lee was familiar with that maybe he worked in and around. All right. So Judyth, I will send Dana your email. I will copy you both on an email, and then you guys get together, and then maybe you can document that while you're there, Dana, and then make a video about it.
I just bought a camera. I just bought a camera, man. I plan on making a whole documentary. I'm going down there about my dad's stuff.
Right.
At the same time, killing two birds.
I'm making a huge documentary. Right. Well, we'll talk about that. Okay.
Yeah, you guys will get it set up. Awesome. Well, cool. I'm looking forward to seeing that, and it looks like the majority of the people in the chat would enjoy seeing me in a live podcast. Frank Licari, he's not interested.
Well, you know what? Hey, buddy, it's to each their own, all right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, my feelings aren't hurt. All right, Dana, congratulations again on being a father. Congratulations on sobriety, and thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Red Pill. You are the best, man, and thank you. I'm one of the OG Red Pillars.
You are.
I saw you on the Bush envelopes, so yeah.
That's right.
All right, man.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
See you, man.
Peace. Good stuff. So he mentioned where we bark one, we bark all. That it's like where we go one, we go all, except it's my dog Muffin barking, because she historically barks whenever I'm on the air. I had to let her out of the room when God's daughter was on the phone, and she was barking at me from downstairs. Let's have my friend Floyd Standifer the Fourth up next. Yes, MC17 says, big delay in the chat. Yes, there is always a delay in the chat. Don't necessarily know why. My man Floyd, what is going on, sir? We just got to get your microphone on. There we go. You are connected to audio. Floyd, how are you tonight, sir? Oh, wait, it's still not. It's muted now. It's muted. Hang on.
There we go.
Okay, it's working. Excellent. How are you, Floyd?
I'm doing great, buddy. How you doing?
Excellent.
So if you see me looking side to side, I'm actually watching on my laptop and talking with you on my phone.
That's fine. What's your question for Judyth?
Okay, Judyth, for me being a former Marine as well, and knowing the oath that Lee had taken, I really got to know, what was he honestly like? Because the last time you were on Red Pill's show, I caught it, but I didn't quite catch everything. So it's just amazing to hear that. And the other question I got is, how do I get a hold of your book? Because that's the one I want to see the most.
Okay, well, the book, it's easy. If you want to get it autographed, it's $35. I'm sorry it's so much. We're all in such tight spots. But
$35? Shoot, if it was $50, I'd still pay
it. To PayPal and to therealjudythvarybaker@gmail.com.
And Floyd, it's in the description too. So if you can't find a pen right now, you can grab it right from the description.
About Lee, the Marines, I'll tell you how much it meant to him. The day he believed he would die, he believed he would be shot, and they put the rifle in his hands to try and make it look like he did it. He took his wedding off. That meant a lot to me because we wanted to get married. And when we walked together, my wedding ring was on the left hand and his was on the right because he was married in the Soviet Union. And our rings would click together. And it felt terrible. He took the ring off and left it behind on Friday morning. But you know what he did? He put his Marine ring on. He wanted to die with that Marine ring on his finger.
Wow.
Now, what they called it a silver object. They didn't want people to know it was his Marine ring. But you can actually find it online, pictures of it. Okay?
I'll definitely take a look for that. And really all I can say after that is Semper Fi.
Absolutely.
Semper Fi.
So, Judyth, how long was your relationship with Lee? How many years did you guys know each other?
No, it wasn't years.
No. Well, I mean, it was. I'm just asking.
I was only 19.
Yeah.
And things went fast. Met him in April, so I knew him in April, May, June, July, August, and early in September we had to part. I was kicked out for objecting to things, But through September, October, and November, we were in contact through a Mafia racing line, free. We got free phone calls. Of course, we knew we were probably being listened to.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the ideal. You see, the CIA trusted him and the Mafia trusted him because he was born into a Mafia family.
Ooh.
But it was also a military family. His uncle was close friends with the Don Carlos Marcello, who ran New Orleans. And so they were, at the time, the CIA and the Mafia were working together to try to kill Castro. Lee was posing as pro-Castro to help ferret out Castro's spies. Castro was sending spies there because they knew we were trying to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
So he was protecting us. And it was,
that was something I never knew.
well, they're not going to tell you that. They're going to say, for some reason, he's passing out leaflets, okay, for an organization that never had a meeting, never had a lecture, even though it says that, all right, that changed its address 3 times after they arrested people who were interested, you know, and deported some to Cuba. They'd have to change the address because you couldn't use it again.
Mm-hmm.
So he changed the address from 544 Camp Street. Then he changed it to 4907 Magazine Street, and then he changed it to a post office box number. So he kept changing it as they arrested people using it.
Floyd, when you were when Judyth was on the show before, did you hear the story about Ted Cruz's father?
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. There's been a lot that you obviously remember. There's been a ton of stuff that's happened since then and now.
Yeah. So everybody, I'm sure that you'll remember President Trump called out Ted Cruz's father for being photographed with Lee Harvey Oswald, passing out those leaflets.
He knew a lot, you know.
Yeah.
President Trump knows a great deal. So he said they were having lunch together.
Wow, that is crazy.
But what's the truth? But just in case people here didn't hear this last time, Judyth.
Well, see, Ted Cruz actually was living in Houston, I believe, and he came to visit relatives over in Dallas. And while he was there, Lee had already been arrested once over on Canal Street. And it was all set up where 3 people were supposed to accost him. You can read about it in my book, how it was all set up. But then a big crowd gathered, and they were going to beat the tar out of Lee, and the police came just in time. All right. Well, so they moved it to not so much traffic for the second leafletting campaign because they're still looking for these people, different people. And this time, Lee said, "Look, I'm scared to death. I mean, who's going to protect you? You were all by yourself. You know." He said, "No, this time I've got 2 guys." And he says, and one of them, he says, is my angel. I said, "What do you mean by that?" Well, he said his name is Rafaelo Cruz. Well, he didn't use the name Cruz, actually. He just said Rafaelo. And he said, "I know you can't remember faces very well, so you walk with me. We're going to walk by him. I want you to see him for yourself." He said he brought him in because nobody knows him here. So he can, protect Lee without any repercussions locally. Mm-hmm. That was the idea. So he walked me past Rafaelo, and we see Rafael is one of the famous archangels. That's why he called him the angel. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know his last name until I saw his picture finally, and people asked, "Oh my gosh, there he was." And of course I recognized him, but I never would have if Lee hadn't pointed him out and made a deal of it, because he knew I was scared that he was there all by himself. And he said, "No, I've got this person helping me." He said, the other one, he said, he's an FBI informant. Yes, the other guy, well known as an FBI informant. But Lee is surrounded with the FBI and all these different people, and he's never supposed to be associated with them. Isn't that ridiculous?
Right. So, Floyd, I just thought that was an incredible story, because I remember when President Trump said that, obviously, many laughs. People got a lot of laughs about it. Rafaela, what were you doing there with Lee Harvey Oswald? But when you have the context, knowing that Lee Harvey Oswald was actually working to root out these Cuban spies brought over here to the United States, and his love for President Kennedy, it puts it in a whole new context.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump off of here because I know you got a whole bunch of other people waiting to go, but thank you, Dr. Judy. That was absolutely amazing. And I will be getting a hold of your book very soon. Okay.
All right.
And, God bless you.
Expect a little bit extra in terms of monetary help. Just in case.
No, please. We've got to be careful with our money. Be careful.
It would be an honor to do it. Even if it's a little bit extra, it'd just be an honor to do it. From one Marine to another Marine's wife. That'd be perfect for me.
All
Oh,
right.
I was married, I'll tell you. He was the love of my life.
Well, as far as I'm
Beautiful.
concerned, under God, you were married to him. So there you go.
Well, we did. We put our heads up to heaven and we said, if you're there, God, please marry us.
Beautiful.
And that day you were. So, all right,
Floyd,
Red Pill. Dr.
Thank you
Judy,
so much, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
You got it. Have a great night.
Yep, you too. Awesome. Always a great call. Thank you so much, Floyd, for calling in. All right, let's see. We've got a couple more people. My friend Sweta is on the phone next. She is our Indian correspondent. And then after that, we've got Denise, our UK correspondent. You guys continue to call in with your questions for Judy, whether it be about Lee Harvey Oswald or her work there at the bioweapons lab. And I'm sorry, what university was that? That was in
Well, it was associated with Tulane University.
Tulane. That's right, Tulane. Okay.
This
All
was
right.
done, this was believe me, a side job.
Sure. All right, Sweta, are you there?
Yeah, hi, Red Pill.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I wanted to know from Judyth, has she ever come across anything, like microwave weapons? Now, those are also capable of, inducing cancer in people.
Excuse me, can you say that?
Yeah. Are you familiar at all with the use of microwave weapons being used to create cancer, or was there any research of that type being done when you were there at Tulane?
Not really. They had barely invented the microwave oven and things like that, at the time.
Sure.
However, it's obvious that these 5G towers that are everywhere, the way they crisscross, you can see when they crisscross, they're killing the tops of trees. They're killing them off. You can absolutely, there's no doubt, they've done studies showing how dangerous these are. Frankly, if you know anything about Faraday cages, do you know what a Faraday cage is?
Yes, I've seen videos on the Faraday cage.
Yeah, well, there are ways that you can block this. Always, of course, don't use Wi-Fi in your house. Use Ethernet. All right, that's one thing. And then everywhere where that cord leads, it resonates also with energy, and you can block some of that, with like copper over it, and wherever the line leads to. Don't have the router anywhere near you. Of course, if you get, there are different meters you can get to read what situation with, but worst of all, our cell phones. I do not even own a cell phone. That's how much I care about not frying my brain.
I always talk on mine on speakerphone so that I don't have it up next to my head. Was there any other research that you were aware of taking place there outside of the bioweapons?
MK Ultra research, for example, going on. We know that the CIA had contacted David Ferrie. You've probably read about that.
Mm-hmm.
In New Orleans, the CIA was concerned about voodoo and the fact of zombies, and how they were created. They were very interested in that. And they soon switched over to Haiti. But there were no hands. I'll just put it this way. Anything was possible, and there were no ethical standards whatsoever. What mattered was mind control, was controlling. People have asked me, was Lee Oswald controlled? Did he have implants? I can promise you he did not. I know personally that he had none of that. Also that we mocked their efforts, which were more primitive at that time. Today, thoughts can be placed in your head and you'll have no control over them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of unconscionable abilities now, actions that are being done. It's dangerous. It's, frankly, we are very vulnerable. And scientists really are the new brave world monsters that we have to look at. I'm sorry, I've been a scientist myself. They're not ethics anymore. They're getting a salary. They're told to do a small section of something. They don't know even what they're doing. If it is, most of the people in the lab that were working on this cancer project had no idea what it was for. They were given a certain section, certain part of it. All right. And that's the problem. By making sure that scientists in different labs don't even know what they're doing, you have someone overseeing the whole thing. They know. For example, I knew, and Dr. Sherman knew, and Oxner knew. We knew that this was a cancer weapon. Why was I in it so closely? Because I've been trained to make cancer more deadly. It's even in the newspapers. I knew how to grow cancer faster than anybody. And that's the way, even though I was just in my teens. So I have all these difficulties that nobody's being trained to care. They just do their job. You know, I was told to do this. I was told to do that. We have a real problem. We're going to have anti-intellectual blast on this. People are going to want to kill scientists, and they're mostly innocent because they were never told all of what they're doing or why they're doing it. But the big leaders, they do know, and they are responsible. So there's a lot of cleanup. We're in great danger. We simply are.
You know, it's it's the same way that they treat the government. Everything is compartmentalized, but then the people who do know, they have completely dehumanized any aspect of it. So I mean, the people at the top, just complete and total psychopaths. Now you mentioned the clowns in America and their interest in zombies. Very interesting, because scopolamine is often called like the zombie drug. It's big down in South America, and I heard that it's actually part of the process of making someone a zombie in Haiti.
It's a very old one. They've gotten much more sophisticated.
Right.
Scopolamin's been around a long time, and we've got stuff so some of it's radio energized. In other words, it won't even work in your system until they will send radio frequency at you. We don't know everything that's going on. It's too classified, but they're eons ahead. Frankly, they can make you think anything.
Mm-hmm.
Be responsible.
Sweeta, do you have any further questions for Judy?
No, but Repil, I just wanted to request if you again, and if you could interview Eric Karlstrom.
I've been trying to get a hold of those people, and I haven't successfully been able to. Tell you, Sweeta, if you can find like working emails for any of these people, and you can get them to me, then that would help me out significantly.
All right, Eric Karlstrom, he has 4 websites. I can send you those.
Please.
Barry Trower, I will try and find out how one can get in touch with him, because he's a microwaves expert. He has been working with microwave weapons for the British intelligence.
Okay.
So I will try and get information on him.
Please.
So
there's
that's
a lot out there. One of the ways that you can find information, believe it or not, for competing companies that don't want the other company to succeed. That's where you can get leaks.
Okay.
All right, Sweeta. Thank you for your call.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
All right. Beautiful. Good stuff. All right. Thank you very much. We've got Denise, our UK correspondent, coming up next. Oh, and then a couple of other friends of the program. TikTok's in there, and AOC, Alexandria Occasional Cortex, not the representative from New York, but a good friend of the show. Denise is coming up. Denise, thank you so much for your call tonight. I am interested to hear your thoughts on everything that we've been talking about. Let's see. Judyth, was there anything about David Ferrie that you wanted to make sure that the audience knew? Because as I said earlier, he's portrayed as quite a creep in popular culture, and when they talk about him. Was the David Ferrie that you know the same Lothario that you saw on the screen in Oliver Stone's JFK?
Well, that's an interesting term that you use, because there's no doubt that he had his lovers,
right,
and he was a predator to some extent. However, he was in a terrible position. If you read the book, especially because he had to portray himself as after he learned how many people were. We have something strange going on, sounds, but anyway. Oh. Oh, okay. Well, bless her heart. We need to help her. Does she have emphysema, or what's the matter? Emphysema, yeah. Okay. At any rate, David is a very complex individual, and unfortunately, his life is really tragic. However, at one point, he got in with anti-Castro Cubans, really hated Kennedy, And he realized that he was in a position, he was also working for the mafia at the time, long story, that he was able to obtain information that could save the president. Because of Ferrie, who was excellent airline pilot, who was flying for a short period of time, he was actually flying information from Kennedy's enemies who were in Dallas all the way over to Houston on a regular basis. So they trusted him that much. So he had to pretend to be what he was not.
Well, and I mean, everything that we know about the world of blackmail and intelligence, I would have to imagine that the people who were controlling David Ferrie probably had some things on him that he didn't want published in the public sphere. So they probably had him working, because of those things that he didn't want to get out.
Well, imagine, I mean, this is a man who actually put young men through military, he would put them maybe through military academy or something like that to help them, or actually even through seminary. They become priests. On the other hand, he had these lusts and these impulses that he could hardly control. I mean, he had a collection of pubic hairs, for heaven's sakes, from his conquered lovers, okay? And he even glued them on top of his black eyebrow pencil stuff he would glue them on, he could peel them off at night. Mm-hmm. Now, he was murdered because Dave would peel these things off and peel off his awful wigs. They were terrible, worse than in the film, okay? And he had different sizes because not always was his hair always gone. Mm-hmm. So it depended on how much hair was growing back or whatever. Mostly he was bald, almost nothing left. But he would take that off at night. But when they found him dead, he was also naked, which he always wore pajamas. I know because he'd come to the door holding his pajamas up, Had these pajamas, he held them up at the waist. Hey, what time is it? He had been up all night. And so he was found naked. He was found with his wig on and everything. So he was murdered.
So, well, it sounds like there was an element of humiliation in the way that they killed him as well. All right. Well, let's go ahead and bring in Denise. Denise, you have to go ahead and unmute yourself, my friend. There we go. How are you tonight, Denise?
I'm good, thank you very much.
Beautiful, beautiful. And what is your question for Judyth?
It's not a question. It's I bought Judyth's book the last time she was on your show, and I can highly recommend it to anybody to buy it and read. It's a fascinating book to read.
Thank you.
And very, very, very eye-opening. Very the amount of information in there that people will have no idea about Lee and you and your life together and the type of person he was. It's a brilliant book. Highly recommend it.
Denise, what was something in the book that you were most shocked to learn or maybe just most surprised or interested in?
Well, the whole thing, because what you heard about him from the news, from the Kennedy assassination, in no way, shape or form does it line up with Judyth's knowledge of Lee and what he did and where he travelled and who he worked for. No idea because it wasn't made public.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with you there. I mean, the public persona that has been portrayed by the people who would, crucify the reputation of Lee Harvey Oswald is in stark contrast to the man that Judyth knew intimately. And I would say that this is you, Judyth, and your account of who Lee was is probably the only fleshed out version of the man that we have. I mean, no one else has ever been out there and spoken about him. He
wasn't perfect, and they tried to take every flaw he had and they exaggerated it to the extreme, and did everything they could to make him look like an evil man, It was horrible.
Well, I mean, and if you take the total sum experience of a person's life and distill it into their single worst qualities, then anyone is going to look like just a terrible human being. But, I mean, nobody is perfect. All right. Well, Denise, what is going on in the UK?
Oh, lots has gone on this week. It's been well, the 17th has been a hell of a day in the UK with things happening with Boris. I'll send you. Like, it's easier for me to send you information, so I'll DM you info. I think I already DM'd some of it.
Okay.
But he's making moves on the National Health Service. He's making moves on the public health part of it, the same way that Trump has just done with the CDC.
Okay.
Boris is doing the same, shutting that down for false information, etc. He's doing universities. If they come for funding to the government now, they will only be given funding if they allow free speech and stop deplatforming
That is
people,
great.
which they were doing, and only teach proper subjects and not these airy-fairy ones.
Fantastic. I'm moved.
Leftist agendas, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, he's done a lot. And of course it was the 17th and Q started posting again, and it's been a really brilliant day because it's also my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday. That's
so I've had a really good day. 17th of the 7th is my birthday, and of course Q's number 17.
Yeah.
And he started posting again today.
I was waiting for it. When they started coming out again, I was like, sweet. I was like, this is exactly what we needed. Good stuff. All right. Well, Denise, thank you once again for your call. I really appreciate it, and I'll be looking for that DM, okay?
Yes. Okay.
All right. We'll talk to you
Good
soon.
night, both of you.
Have a good night.
Bye.
All right. So, Judyth, what can you tell us about George de Mohrenschildt?
Well, George was far more important than they tried to make him out to be, of course. Everybody probably who's looked into this knows that George dated Jackie Kennedy's mother. And his brother was on the social register, and he was too for a while. And when he also founded the Cystic Foundation and had Jackie Kennedy as the honorary chair of that. So we have all this closeness, and here the Baron, he's a Baron. He was born near Minsk, and he thought Lee spoke wonderful Russian because Lee spoke Minsk-style Russian. Marina made fun of because she had the highfalutin, the wonderful Leningrad, St. Petersburg today, accent, which was the more classic form. So instead of saying, y'all, how you doing? It'd be, how do you do? So she didn't think much of Lee's accent. And in fact, when I was with Lee, he was practicing to get a better accent, so you wouldn't know that he came originally, that he learned most of his Russian in Minsk, which is Belarus, which was not even in Russia itself. It was another country. That Russian. So why am I talking about these things? Because George de Mohrenschildt was from that area. What are the chances by chance that Lee would become friends with someone who had been born in the same area where he had spent 30 months in the USSR? Come on. This was set up, of course, by the CIA. And George, when he was very sorry that he had, as he said, caved in to the Warren Commission and betrayed Lee. It says so in his book. And of course, they say he shot himself. But wait a minute. Did he shoot himself just before the HSCA was going to, and Gaetan Fonzi was going to interview him just hours before? Because on the tape, there's a tape that they actually made. I think it was to try and prove that he killed himself. That tape was created, It was supposed to be As the World Turns, or some kind of soap opera was going on. But you could hear footsteps, bang, bang, on the wooden floor. Footsteps, and then bang. You know something? George was wearing socks. He's wearing socks. How can he make any sound before he kills himself?
That's a good point.
And then you have, and yes, the other thing is Fonzie also said, and others did too, you could hear the alarm, the intruder alarm was going off, ding, 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 ding. Oh, that was an accident as well, right? So he blew his brains out, and this man was, like Lee said, this man was rather vain. He never would have disfigured his face. He's going to kill himself. So the other thing is that you find the rifle, or I should say the shotgun that was used, is across his feet. Now, if you shoot yourself with something that big, okay, you're going to have a harder time enough putting that thing in your mouth and then shooting it because you can hardly reach it. But when you do, it's not going to land across, you know what, when you're shot like that, you're going to go up in the air, you know, and then you're going to slump forward. The rifle couldn't possibly have been across both feet. Like,
yeah,
it was all placed. He was murdered, of course. And right after that, there's an individual over the, you know, in the Netherlands who had to claim that, oh yes, George de Mohrenschildt, confessed to me that Lee Oswald did it, and blah blah blah. Never in a million years. But he was subjected to electroshocks and all kinds of things after the assassination. And of course, very demoralized. He writes, who does he write to? George H.W. Bush.
That's right.
Yes. And he has his phone number and his address, you know, and his address book and everything. Well, the address. And George writes back and says, well, I don't know what I can do for you, because he's begging for help. He says, I'm in terrible trouble. Things are very bad. Well, it wasn't long after that he shows up dead. So that's how George took care of that man.
Absolutely. All right. TikTok's opinion is on the line now. What's up, Tick? How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. And how are you doing this evening?
Excellent. Excellent. So are you having a good time? You enjoying the show?
I am. Actually, I had to step out earlier to go to the store, and I barely caught you guys at the call-in portion.
Okay.
So I wasn't able to actually, I'm going to go back and watch this, but I have a few questions.
Please.
If you've already answered these, Judyth, by the way, nice to meet you. There's rumor of Lee being in the CIA.
There's no doubt.
More than a rumor. More than a rumor.
Right. I mean,
he actually was trained by the ONI, the Office of Naval Intelligence. He told me so. And and he was borrowed by the CIA, which put a layer between them. So CIA could always say, oh, no, he was never CIA. See?
Oh, that's very... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Plausible deniability, that's all.
Yeah,
right.
Talk about compartmentalization.
Very much so. And my other question was, there's rumor and there's like pictures of, you just got through talking about him, George Bush Sr. being there in Dallas whenever the assassination happened.
Right, one of the four tramps, perhaps.
Right. Do you?
No, I don't think so. Who the tramps were and all that, we probably have a pretty good idea that, they've focused so much on the identification of the tramps. I would like to focus on why did they let them go?
That's
probably because they weren't actually tramps. They were there to make sure that everything went through successfully.
Yeah. So do you think he was actually there?
There's a photo that looks like Bush near right there in Dealey Plaza. Very interesting because you have the characteristic hand in the pocket. They even have a statue of George Bush with his hand in his pocket. It's the same stance, the same slanted shoulders, the same jutting jaw, but I leave that to the others. What we do know for sure is that this man became head of the CIA with no supposedly prior experience. That's a new one. All right. And then he becomes president. Only an American, or only Russians, I guess, would go and actually place in someone who had been in the CIA as president, so he can go and destroy all the records he can possibly get his hands on with all kinds of authority to do so.
Right. A little bit of tidbit background of my information. I'm actually from Midland, Texas, where George Bush is from. like where he grew up, and yeah, that's just a little bit. And my middle name is Lee, so it's it's just a little bit of information about me. I appreciate you answering my questions, and I'm going to get off here so you have more time to talk to AOC's alter ego.
Excellent. Well, TikTok, thanks for calling, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, man. You have a good evening.
Yeah,
have
a wonderful night.
Talking to you guys too.
Appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you soon. All right, you guys. Now, actually, I'm going to show a picture here. This is the picture I believe you were just talking about, man with the suit, hand in the pocket, and you can see the profile of George H.W. Bush right there wearing a similar suit, and then the grainy profile of the man on right there in front of the Texas School Book Depository. Now, this picture is saying conclusively that it is George H.W. Bush. Now, the only thing that calls that into question is George H.W. Bush's own report of where he was on that day. He's given several different accounts, saying that he couldn't remember where he was, which is very strange. Anybody that I know that was alive when John F. Kennedy was assassinated knows immediately, because it's indelibly burned into the brain of every American at that time. And then George W. Bush had also given some contemporaneous accounts at the time to say he was someplace else. Of course, he also called in with a tip to say that perhaps Kennedy would be assassinated, but that was more of a misdirect, wasn't it, Judyth?
And?
Oh, I was just asking. I was like, do you know anything about George H.W. Bush and that call that he made?
Oh, well, they have all kinds of ways to cover all this up, but let's face it, it was easy for him to get on a plane and get over there just in time to pretend he was over there.
Mm-hmm. All right, we've got AOC coming in next. Did you put braces on Alexandria Occasional Cortex, or is there no? Maybe there's some lettering there. Mark, how are you, buddy?
Some lettering in there. Yeah, I'm doing great. There is some lettering. I had to take the mask off finally.
Okay, good stuff. Well, welcome to the program once again. It's good to hear from you. What's your question for Judyth?
Man, I came in late. I was having the most amazing conversation, connecting all these dots with recent news. And then I got the notification, and I caught about 5 minutes. I was like, oh my gosh, I was just talking about this.
That's great.
And so, and that leads me to a couple like quickie topics. How much around that, like the phone number that came from that call log in jail.
Oh, okay. With the Raleigh phone call.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how much of your research came out of just that one thing that connected the dots?
Dr. Grover Proctor lives in North Carolina. Is a friend of mine. We've been friends for years, as a matter of fact. And he accidentally ran across that information. There's no doubt at all. We have all the records. We have the witnesses. We have the documents. Even it's thrown away, but it was picked up out of the trash and preserved. All right. That Lee Oswald made a call to what's called a cutout. Now, when you are going to call your CIA handler, you don't call them directly. That would be too obvious if you're in jail, right? You have someone in between. So the person that he was calling, that person actually had been in the CIA. All right. So what did the Dallas police do? They ordered that call to be unplugged. So as he's trying to get through, they unplugged it so he couldn't reach this number. So the call tells us also that call, unfortunately, by Lee making such a call, which was a call of desperation, he knew exactly what that meant. By making that call, he was actually placing who he was in jeopardy. That is, that his cover would be blown. And because of that, CIA definitely would not have protected him at all. And on the other hand, Lee had no other choice. He had to show that I think he wanted it on the record that he had tried to make a call to a cutout to prove who he was. because he had been completely abandoned.
Wow, and it's just so little evidence that's out there, but that's such a key kind of, you know, the fact
Yes,
that it's out there.
interested.
It's amazing.
Over 1 million people have seen Grover Proctor's talk on this. It's on YouTube. More than a
So,
million.
yeah, can I ask you one other question? I don't want to get too much in the different directions, but this is so related, and this is why I was so excited. It's such a strangest synchronicities, and some of them just sort of came to pass this week. But anyway, I don't want to. I'll just get straight to the point. In 2010, I produced a big event. Let's just say that, and it was one of the biggest ones I had done. But John Legend and Chrissy Teigen were there.
Ooh.
The event was for an Oprah XM radio show there. But oddly enough, a woman that's very close to me who just recently got the rights to E. Howard Hunt, like the movie rights. And she's a dear friend of mine. So she's been
Wait a
on
minute, how did she get you mean she got that from St. John Hunt?
Yes.
Okay, because St. John and I are friends. I hadn't heard about that.
You probably run into her. It was for a specific, one of his specific book of St. John Hunt.
That'll be fascinating.
So it's not the entire thing, but you know, you probably bumped into her, but it's beyond the point. The connection I wanted to make was that at this event, she was there, and she would later she would later, through a long, strange story, get these rights. But it was gone down that. But at that same event that I was producing was the first time I met somebody who I would later believe was MK Ultra himself.
Yeah.
And it was Chrissy Teigen and John Legend. And they're the only, I worked with a lot of people in the past, but they're the only ones that, it wasn't that they couldn't look anybody in the eyes, you know, or were just doing the rock star thing. I've dealt with that, but it was the first time, at the time I didn't think that. Now, especially after this week, it's been going crazy. And, you know, people that I was in the room with, and so I at least could judge just like their energy and their essence, and it just makes sense now because of the way they behaved then. But I just thought there was many levels because people that were connected to,
Well, St. John,
Castro,
St. John has a wonderful history behind him. He's gone through so many hellish things in his life from his childhood on. I hope that justice is done for St. John and what is portrayed, because
I think so too, and I've had the pleasure of meeting a few of these people through this friend of mine. Many of them related to this, but oddly enough, she was next door neighbors to Robert Kennedy Jr. And so her connection to the Kennedy side of things. And I just want to say she's really, you know, I'm hearing from her now, and she's asking me sort of for the QAnon angle. And so it's interesting that somebody like, you know, that knows all this is asking about, you know, answers to some of these questions now. It's like, oh, well, my buddy probably knows that because he follows Keys. So I just, I'm excited that it's getting to that point, and a lot of these dots are being connected for a lot of people. But I'm really happy that you're on the show. It's a great show. I'll get going. I don't want to ramble on anymore, but it was a strange story from my past, and it's sort of connected to what you were talking about.
All right.
This conversation. So anyway, thanks for the show. Good luck with your work. I myself too got to rewind and do the whole show, but I'm looking forward to seeing more of your research. I'm really excited what you're doing. Thanks.
All right. Thanks a lot for calling, Mark. I appreciate you, buddy.
Bye for now.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
All right. So just got some reports in the chat. Representative John Lewis of Georgia has in fact passed away. It's interesting because on the 11th, there was a fake story about his death, and they confirmed that he was not in fact dead. Now, just 6 days later, he actually has passed away. One strange thing about him is that he is a dead ringer for also deceased Maryland Congressman Elijah Cummings. Now, they have both expired, both Democrats. We'll have to see what happens there. I do need to say thank you to Constance for the donation on PayPal. Also, everybody who has liked the show. We got 2,500 people here, 1.7 thousand likes. We're almost out of time. Judyth, I want to give you the last word. What do you want to leave people with, and what do you want them to know?
The truth sets us free. Interesting that that's what the CIA says. We have many opportunities in this tumultuous time to do good, because every bit of act of good you do is going to do something to come against the evil. The evil is real. Many funds are about to run out. People are going to be evicted. They will be homeless. They will be desperate. Now, if you can either help these people, or what's going to happen to them? What is going to happen to our country? We've got to have some kind of goal, and that goal has got to be something that all of us can look at and say, look, we are Americans. We're not going to be bossed around by a bunch of scientists. I am scientifically trained, but they were not elected. They were not chosen. They have impeded us. They have changed their rules all the time. They don't know that much, but they have managed to almost destroy our country. It's time that we took back our country, and I don't mean by violence, but by living normal lives as much as we are allowed to do so. And if that means walking outside, I will walk outside without a mask. If I get arrested, ask yourself how many, if everybody did that. Now, look what happened in Sweden. In Sweden, they're being vilified because they actually had so many deaths per capita, almost as many as we have had per capita for considering the population. But now it's almost over for them. On the other hand, all their old people died. Is the cost of freedom for us meaning that everybody who's old has to die? Mm-hmm. What kind of vicious kind of thing is this that has been created? Because this was created, no matter what they want to tell you. Scientists did this. It's time to get rid of the biolabs, trace them all down, shut them down, and make it a crime to do any more biological warfare or any more of this horrible kind of so-called research. That's my final word.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Judyth Varybaker, thank you so much for joining us once again. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I'm looking forward to having you back again in the future. Thank you to everybody who participated in the chat. Thank you for the calls tonight. Thank you to the mods for keeping it comfy. Don't forget, we will be back tomorrow for another edition of Saturday Night Livestream. And my guest tomorrow is going to be Reba for Congress. Reba is a pro-America, pro-MAGA candidate. She's running down in Florida. Make sure you're here for that. We're going to talk all about her journey through life and her platform for the race. We need to make sure we support her because we need people in government who are actually going to represent the will of the American people, and Reba is one of those people. So thank you once again, everybody, and thank you, Judyth, as well. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.